Always. We have a caller, so I'm just going to go right to this person. 616, hello.
Hi. This is Paul Brom. I'm involved in the Occupy movement. I run a couple of sites. Republicans are a-holes, and 99% on the site.
I love the name of the first one. Which Occupy do you participate in, Paul?
I'm administrator to the Occupy Michigan General Assembly, and I'm also part of the Occupy General Assembly Coalition that are trying to network all Occupy groups together throughout the world. And,
I think that's quite wonderful. I'm active with Occupy Fort Lauderdale, and once in a great while I peep in and Occupy Miami. I haven't seen Occupy West Palm Beach yet. I have to drive up there and see it. What's on your mind, Paul?
Well, I was going over your topic here, talking about where Occupy is headed, and especially with this time of year, I wanted to kind of bring to the table. There's been a lot of discussion about what's happening to Occupy during the winter because of the cold weather.
Right, of course, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people are. I mean, I think that was first on people's minds. What's happening to the camps in the winter? And I've heard that Boston and so forth were planning some really impressive winterization techniques, and they were getting help from Marines and so forth. But I think now is what's happening. Can Occupy grow and grow aggressively without the encampments? Because we see city after city, the encampments are being torn down by the local law enforcement.
And that brings me to one thing I wanted to bring up is, the direction of the movement. Of course, it's always going to regroup. It might take time, but especially during the winter, that's going to discourage some people because it's going to make it hard on them. I understand this, but I want everybody to persevere, and I want to encourage that. But there's a lot of things that can happen, and it kind of goes along with a lot of people that say they can't get involved because they don't have transportation. They're in a family. They can't leave their kids. And, you got groups like mine, the 99% online, where it allows people to support the groups no matter the weather, no matter what's going on at home. You got a couple of hours a day that you can just get online, and you can show support that way by sharing news and links and networking to other sites to show your support. And even, there's web tools and stuff where they're taking donations for these encampments to supply for needs and stuff while they're out. I mean, a lot of people can participate without going out and risk getting arrested or being away from their kids. I mean, there's a lot of directions Occupy is going. And
I'd like to mention the fact that people can actually write letters to, this sounds like such an old-fashioned thing, but to the newspapers, because there are people who aren't that much online, but yet they do read their papers. I know several people who read the letters to the editor kind of thing, and that's another way that people could help.
It's all about being resourceful and the ingenuity in people, and pulling the resources they do have, because this can go anywhere. There's no limits. And the weather, obstacles, it won't overcome as long as people stay creative and they pull together. And that's what Occupy is all about, is pulling together for common goals. And a lot of people say there are no clear goals. They've defined, several or many goals, but every day things change and new goals get put on the table. So Occupy is in its infancy, but it's always developing, it's always growing, and it's going to go different directions. But the great thing about Occupy is it doesn't have a government body. It doesn't have leaders telling it where to go. It's everybody working in unison, and no matter what Occupy group or state you see, or even Occupy countries, this is worldwide, it's all similar. You look at it on the news, it's all looks. You can look at one city to the next, and you can swear you're looking at the same city except the building. That's a true synergy there. It's got its own momentum, and everybody is just like working like, a the flock of birds, you know. I mean, everybody just goes together. There's no plan per se. It just comes together on its own because it's a need and a want that everybody has.
Well, I mean, there's clear goals in terms of the main grievances, which are put forth in some of the various declarations that have been put out by some of the Occupy movements in terms of the egregious actions of the 1% toward the rest of us. And I'm sure
that was like the
some
first
of those.
thing. Yes.
Yeah, it was like the first thing, and that's, I think, addressed either individually or simultaneously. It is a movement that's managed to bring environmentalists, environmental activists together, anti-war activists, and so forth, because everyone is seeing a common cause, corporate greed, as driving society's ills. I mean, the constant need for short-term profits by publicly traded corporations, the reason why oil companies and coal companies are so focused on extracting their product and want climate science to be denied, or the wars, which are another way to redistribute wealth to the top 1% in terms of resources and taxpayer funds to the military-industrial complex. Yeah, it's when Raytheon sells a Patriot missile, I mean, that's $1 million a pop. So if it uses dozens of them, you know, they've had a very good day. Right. And so forth. So I mean, you can look at anyone's issue, what the banks have done to us, especially. There's a good reason why it started in Wall Street. The greed there is this. You know, these guys were heavily bailed out with taxpayer funds. So we're told that there's no money for schools, there's no money for national health care and so forth, but there's plenty of money to do a $16.6 trillion bailout of the large banks, and there's plenty of money for endless wars.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why it's so important for the populace to get together and get involved in this thing any way they can. And I just want them to know there are many ways to participate. You know, if you can't get down to your local General Assembly groups and do any protesting or whatnot, there's many things you can do. I mean, you can donate to the cause. You can be a shuttle to run supplies out that they do gather up. Because I see things on many sites. Restaurants, for example, there's a pizza place in Olympia that had made up a bunch of personal pan pizzas for the crowds, and he needed somebody to just come down there, pick them up, and drop them off down to the local assembly. I mean, the person.
I take it. Occupy Michigan has been the police and Occupy have been on good terms with each other. Then there hasn't been any threat to them.
Yes, we've had fortunate here. I mean, Chicago's the same way. They've got, you know, a good rapport with the police officers there. You know, I don't understand why it's going so wrong with police and officials in other states. It just seems to be a whole different mentality. But I look at the movements. I'm talking to various people in the groups all over. I mean, I stay in contact with Occupy Oakland, Occupy San Francisco, you know, and the people are the same.
Occupy Wall Street, they're still regularly holding all their general assemblies, no interruptions, even though they lost Zuccotti Park.
Oh, well, that just shows the resilience of the movement and the focus. Okay. And people don't need to get discouraged about these things. Actually, it's encouraging because it shows that we've hit a nerve. And that we hit a nerve for hurt. But I guess that's about all I had to say. I just wanted to let people know there are options, there are ways to be involved, and this thing's not going away.
No.
Well,
we want to thank you for doing all the organizing you're doing, and you're trying to organize other states and cities. I think that's wonderful. So we wish you much good luck there.
Well, I thank you for your time, and I think this was a great program, and you guys have a great night.
All right.
You too.
Thanks so much.
Too. Talk to you again.
Yes.
Nice guy.
Okay, very much. And he's like out there doing it, not just in his own community, but he's trying to keep in touch with them around the country. So I think that's, I don't know, he's devoting a lot of time.
We have optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That's very positive. That's very good.
Now he's keeping in touch with, the cities in our country, which is what we're really basically talking about now. But I wanted to ask you, how do you think we are, as far as our country connecting with the occupies and the support we're getting from other countries?